Thank you. Again, in this video, we will be looking at variations. Some persons call it proportions, but I like to call it variations. And when we talk about variation, variation is talking about relationship. The relationship between two or more quantities. That's what we call variation. Now, you can determine the relationship between the travel distance and the time it takes to get to the destination. So your relationship is between the time taken and the distance traveled. Now that's a relationship. Now there are 4 types of variations, but for British level we only consider 2. And the 2 types of variation are direct variation and inverse or indirect variation. That is what we're going to do. And we're going to start with direct variation this morning. Now, when we talk about direct variation, if I have 2 quantities x and y, if x increases as y increases, or if x decreases as y decreases, then we'll say this is direct. So what it means is that if you go to Marks and Spencer to get some wares, if the higher the number of shirts you pick leads to a higher amount, then it is variation. So for example, a shirt costs £25. If I'm buying 10, that means I'm paying £250. If I'm buying 6, that means I'm paying £150. So which means the higher the number of shirts bought, the higher the amount I will pay. That is direct. And the smaller the number of shirts bought, the smaller the amount to pay. That is direct variation. And that is the reason why the graph looks like this. So let's say this is x and this is y. So as x increases, y2 will increase, or as x decreases, y2 decreases, and that is something you're going to have as your direct variation. Now that is the concept of direct variation. So you go to the market to buy rice. If you're buying 1 bag of rice for 25,000, 2 bags of rice is definitely going to be 50,000. 4 bags of rice is definitely going to be 100,000. So the more the number of bags you buy, the more you're going to pay. And the less the number of bags of rice you purchase, the less the amount you're going to pay. Now, let's see some sweet questions. And let's see what exactly we are talking about. Okay, I'm going to pick a very simple question. And you will see what it looks like. Now, this is a question. Now, before we take the question, note x is directly proportional to y. Is written as this, x this. And by the time you bring in your constant, the variation sign changes to an equal sign. And then you have your constant and this. So when I was talking about going to Marks and Spencer to get wears, and I said if a shirt is 25 pounds, 25 pounds becomes the constant because that is the constant price of the shirt. So for the number of shirts you buy, you multiply by 25. For the number of shirts you buy, you multiply by 25. So in this case, the K is your 25, and we call K the constant of proportionality. Good. So let's look at this question now, and it says T is proportional to the square root of D. That's it. So when you bring in the equal sign, it becomes T equals K root D. So going back, what is my T? My T is 12. K is unknown, and my D is 4, so square root of 4. And that gives us 12 equals K times 2. Which means we're going to have 12 equals 2K over 2 over 2. 2 goes with 2, and K is equals to 6. So this is your constant. Therefore, find a formula for T in terms of D. So the formula for T in terms, so as soon as you bring in your constant and you have an equation like this becomes the formula. Some people call it the relationship or whatever thing you want to call it. So that gives me T is equal to, what's my K now? 6 root D. And B says what? Calculate the value of T. So I want to know the value of T when my D is 9. So I substitute it into this formula. So T is equal to 6 times root 9. And that makes T to be 6 times 3. And T is equal to 18. And that's it. That's direct derivation. Okay. So to solidify our understanding, let's look at one or two more questions on direct variation. Okay, it says P is directly proportional to R raised to the power of 3. So as usual, you write it like this. The next thing you do is to bring in your constants. So what's my P? 343. What's my R? 3.5 raised to the power of 3. So that means you will have 343 is equal to, then we do 3.5 raised to the power 3, and that would give us 42.875 K. So to get my K, I will do 343 divided by 42.875, and that will give us, that will give you 8. So K equals 8. So the question says we should write the formula for P in terms of R. And don't forget, formula for P in terms of R becomes this. And that gives us a very interesting result, which is P equals 8R cubed. And that's it. I hope this video helps in understanding what we call direct variation. In my next video, I will be talking about indirect variation. Thank you for watching.